This is Las Vegas Real Estate Now with local real estate expert Harvey Blankfeld.
Where we want to educate you about our market, empower you to make wise decisions, and help you engage with our expert contributors.
The first thing I want to talk about is when an owner passes away, the heirs may or may not have to sell the home, but how the title was held becomes a critical issue.
Correct. How the title was held is a extremely critical issue, because that's going to tell us from a title company, and as well as the heirs, does this property have to go through probate? If you hold title as a single person, an unmarried person, meaning that you were once married and now you're no longer married, either through divorce or death. If you hold the title as tenants in common, or if you are holding them as, believe it or not, as husband and wife, as possibly tenants in common. And the one that we see that causes a lot of issues is that they may have been holding title, but it was done improperly. And it doesn't actually have the ending needed to tell us if we're going to go to probate, not go to probate. And at that point in time...
what ending is that? What ending are you looking for?
Usually if you'll have, give you an example, Mike and Mary Smith, husband and wife. There's no ending to the end. They're not on joint tenants. They're not tenants in common. They're not...
So you have to defer the least...
Exactly. So we defer back
to the least
to
helpful one. Least helpful one, unfortunately.
So in that situation, we would have them go and speak with a probate attorney and do the determination if they're going to have to go through probate. Because there's two avenues to that. There's the law and the legal side that says, yes, this property has to go through probate. But there's also us being an insurance company and offering an insurance policy on that, or title insurance policy on that property. We want to make sure that nothing comes back as well.
Right.
So there's both those hoops that we go through. So it really comes down to how you hold title on the property, and if you will go to probate or you won't have to go to probate. Everyone says, well, we'll go in joint tenants, and because joint tenants, you don't need probate, and which is normally true. But you always have the, I didn't finish what I started, that happens. So you have a husband and wife, that's joint tenants. The husband passes away, the wife is on title. She never did anything to title after he passed.
Right.
So she's on there, she thinks she's on there as joint tenants with the husband. However, he's deceased, so she's actually on title as an invalid way because she didn't file the termination of joint tenancy in order to remove him and retake title a different way. So when she passes, it would trigger a probate type situation.
Let's talk about some liens, because this has come up recently with one of my transactions. There are a handful of liens out there, a variety of liens. Of course, there's always the mechanics lien, which is by a contractor who's done work on the property. And believe me when I tell you, virtually every contractor in Nevada uses their right to apply a lien when necessary. But I want to talk mostly about, let's start with IRS, because that's the scary one.
Most of the time, and we're not going to get extremely technical, but a lot of the times the IRS liens basically hold the priority positions over a lot of different other types of liens or other types of judgments, and in some cases, even over the mortgage.
Right.
So the IRS is the one lien that you do not want against your property.
Yeah.
There are some instances with auction properties where junior IRS liens, after they time out after a certain amount of time. And even some of the regular IRS liens will time out after a certain period of time if they're not refiled. So they're out there. They're the worst ones because you really could lose your property rather quickly.
When you talk about liens, there's other types of liens too. There's child support, and is that the state, generally speaking?
It's usually the state, or it could actually be a local municipality here as well.
Clark County.
Somebody's going to file it, and it really comes out of the backstory. Somebody didn't pay child support. The person not receiving child support enforced the issue through the courts. The courts then slapped a lien judgment against the person.
Right.
And that has attached to the property that they own.
So part of your process in investigating the sale of the property is not only invested liens against the property, but the person selling it as well, obviously.
100%.
So that's something you've got to look into, because you don't want to, you guys don't want to convey that property without that being settled.
Correct. And most of the time, going back to the IRS liens, child support liens they usually are not recorded against the property. We usually don't see them through just a quick random property search. It's by searching the owner's name that we find them.
There's also utility liens, which we see quite often, actually, right? And especially right now, we're seeing a lot of that.
Republic Services is probably not to pick on them, but you
can pick on them.
Their job is to pick up our trash, and by law, they cannot stop.
Right.
But what they can do is, if you don't pay them, they can lien the property and they will get their money.
You've been listening to Las Vegas Real Estate Now. If you ever have a question about real estate or any of the other topics we cover, just call me off air or text me at 702-203-1165. You can also check us out on the web at lvrealestateradio.com or on our handle on social media at LV Real Estate Radio. We'll meet you on the radio next Saturday at 11 a.m. right here on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDWN, the Talk of Las Vegas.